Hi guys, this is Fernando doing another video for Modern Survivalists. In this case, who dies after an economic collapse? My previous video was a bit of a broader approach to the same topic, talking about who dies in disasters in general. I think it would be interesting to do this one because it goes into further detail in some way about a process that's going on these days. There's really no country in the world that isn't being affected to a greater or lesser degree by the economic crisis. Right? All these things are happening as we speak, and they may not be as newsworthy as some other more dramatic events, but it's not stopping this from claiming lives as we speak. And no one's going to be connecting the dots and saying, okay, this guy died in his 40s because of the heart failure caused because of the stress suffered, because of the tension in his workplace, because of being without a job for some period of time. No one's going to be talking about that much. But you as an individual, you as a single person, it is important for you. So let's just get started. Who dies after an economic collapse? Poor people, malnutrition, poor medical care, poor jobs, lifestyle. Here we're talking about in some cases causes of death that aren't directly linked to starving to death. All right, and if I look at it from the Argentine perspective, about 20 people died each day are actually starving to death, especially in some of the poorest parts, in the poorest provinces. That was pretty obvious, and this was mostly children. What we talked about in the previous video, children are more vulnerable to all this. In many cases, they're born from mothers who are already malnutritioned, and the kids are already pretty weak. Kids lose weight very fast, and if you just give tea and you have to mix milk with water because there's no enough milk for all your kids, that sort of stuff, eventually losing weight, not being able to recover it. Yes, it does happen. Now, if I think of it from the middle class kind of perspective, someone who has a job or who has a skill or someone has a professional that has a way of earning a living, if you had that, I cannot think of a single guy that died during the Argentine economic collapse because he didn't have enough food in the pantry. Right? Maybe he wasn't into any of this preparing stuff. He didn't have anything. He went to a supermarket and it was closed because of one reason or another. It was rather things of inconvenience, but it wasn't life-threatening. All right. The greater problem starts when your life in general becomes a life of poverty, when you have an awfully poor, bad job, and you have to maybe make a living out of picking trash, like it happens to thousands of people right now, millions of people actually worldwide as we speak, who live in conditions of extreme poverty. And why is it that this takes lives? Even if it's not as lots of the footage you see of people actually starving to death, yeah, again, mostly children, but a poor lifestyle is enough to be killing you. You don't have access to proper medical care. Again, if I'm thinking of this from the Argentine perspective, if you are poor and you just rely on the public healthcare, big topic these days, public and private healthcare. Well, in Argentina, you have both private and public. The public medical care is free, but it's as good as nothing. Basically, you're pretty much dead if you have to rely on any serious medical care from the public sector. If you have access to better if you have more money and you can pay a private medical care, you are indeed much better off. But the guys that just rely on the public system, many lives that could have been saved if someone had access to private medicine. Those that just didn't have it just didn't make it. So that's what I mean by poverty killing you. Poverty killing you before your time. That's basically what it comes down to. We're all going to be dying eventually. That's of course a given. The thing is, are you going before your time because of this? Are you going because of things that could have been prevented and could have been treated if you had access to proper medical care? The kind of jobs that you do, if you make a living out of picking trash and eating out of the garbage, thousands of people worldwide, millions of people eat every day out of trash cans, out of the trash. One of the things very common in Argentina is that you go to these huge dumpsters where they throw, where supermarkets throw the stuff that has already been expired. And you see them, it's awful to say it, but it's like rats. They just scrounge and run to these trucks, just dumping it in the middle of waste fields where they throw all the garbage. They just scrounge through the garbage and picking all these all this food that is already expired, already kind of rotting, but they just pick it anyway and take it home and cook on that and eat out of that. What health are you looking forward to if that's how you make, if that's what you eat every day or almost every day? So poverty does kill in many other ways that aren't as dramatic as just plain old starving to death, but it does kill, it does claim your life. Stressed people, right? And this is something that you may not hear very often, but it is claiming lives as well. If you are stressed because of lack of employment, even if you are employed but you're always worried of being fired, you are employed but the money you're making is not enough and it's still stressful for you. These things, if you don't have a job, that's pretty bad. If you have a job but it's not enough to make a living, that's also bad as well. These things take away your dignity in many ways. I don't know if any of you, well, I suppose that some of you have been without job for some period of time, and I can relate to that myself. It is awful. You feel bad when you cannot provide for your family. It is stressful in many ways, many levels. It's going to be affecting your health. If that's a situation that goes on in time, it's pretty awful. You feel your dignity being taken away from you because you're not able to provide for your family, right? Heart-related problems, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Not even talking about depression. The people that end up killing themselves because they just cannot find a job. There was quite a good movie, an Argentine movie that was called it was Tuesday Widows or something like that. Las viudas de los jueves, las viudas de los jueves in Spanish. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday Widows, actually. Well, just look it up. Thursday Widows, something like that. It was an Argentine film, basically about the economic crisis in many ways, and it wasn't focused about extreme poverty or anything like that. It was focused on a high-end middle class or upper middle class or rich folks even after the economic crisis. And these guys, these lived in their gated, fancy communities and all that stuff. And at one point, they started getting honest with one another, and they realized that they were all broke. All of them were broke. And well, I don't want to be ruining the movie for you, but it's called. They just end up taking their own lives. They end up killing themselves when they realize they're worth more dead than alive. When they come to that realization, all these guys they commit mass suicide, and that's why the movie is called Las Viudas de los Jueves. But I think it portrays very well the kind of stress and anguish that you may be going through during an economic crisis, or even worse, during an economic collapse. People involved in car accidents, old cars, poor infrastructure, fear of crime. The vehicles are getting older, you don't have any money for proper mechanic repairs, you just cannot change your vehicle again. The fleet in general starts getting very old, and anyone that's been to South America in general or any other third world country knows this kind of well. You see the vehicles are just older. They're older, they're more prone to failure. Some of them are just rust buckets that they shouldn't even be in the road, but as these things go on in third world countries, it is the kind of fleet that you have generally on the streets. It's pretty bad. Poor infrastructure also makes things more complicated. There's just not enough traffic lights. Many of them aren't even working. The roads are in bad shape. So one of the things that I pretty much I'm forgetting already is that in Argentina you just drive avoiding all the holes on the road because of lack of repair. Here I don't just don't see that anymore. But you just get used to just avoiding them, and you have to drive avoiding the holes on the street. You have to drive being careful of the guy driving next to you on one of these rust buckets that probably has no brakes or anything. The guy's maybe even drunk because of his depression and mental problems because of what's going on as well. So all these things work towards a more dangerous traffic in general. You're also worried about crime on the street, so you don't stop at traffic lights at night. And eventually people start not stopping at traffic lights no matter what. All those things combined make for a very, very difficult driving in third world countries or in places where things are getting worse. And again, as these things start affecting more and more people, more and more countries, all these things will become more common wherever you are. You're not going to be saved from these things going on to a greater or lesser degree, but it is still something that you should keep in mind. I'm here in Northern Ireland right now, and I just insist, I tell my kids all the time, be careful of the traffic, because it's one of those things that you just have to be better prepared for. I know of cases of people from UK that ended up going to Argentina for one reason or another. They just could not drive over there, right? People don't respect the traffic laws. They don't do any of that. It's impossible for someone used to driving in normal circumstances to drive in a place like Argentina. I actually know of a case that the guy ended up returning the following day the car he had rented because he just couldn't drive over there, right? It is going from one extreme to another, going from a place where everyone respects traffic laws to going to another where no one does any of that. Very complicated in that way. So yeah, and we soon saw Argentina become more and more dangerous in that regard. It ended up becoming the country in which more people die because of car accidents in the planet. I don't know if it's still that way. At least it was a couple years ago. Probably they're in the top, as it usually is, in the top 5 or so. Crime victims, lack of awareness, the lack of defense skills, talking about personal financial information. Of course, and this is something that I've always done emphasize on, you can do lots of things to avoid all these, and you may be better prepared, you may be you may have a good some skills, some professional job and such. Now that's not going to be saving you from this. You know, and that's why I make so much emphasis on it, especially if you live in a place like USA and you have access to a firearm and you have the right to bear arms because the Constitution recognizes that right. I just really don't understand why anyone would be without a firearm if they have the right to do so. And you know, some people say, okay, I live in a perfectly nice neighborhood, it's not a problem for me right now. It's just the matter of exercising your right. Even if you don't use a gun in your lifetime and you carried it every single day, you're just exercising that right. And unfortunately, as things do get worse, because that's the way it's gonna be, guys, there's lots of theorizing between, you know, the economy in USA is going to be collapsing, the economy in Europe is going to be collapsing, or it's going to be getting worse. I can only guarantee you one thing, and that's the one thing I can basically guarantee you, and it is that it's going to be getting worse. To a greater or lesser degree, less or more dramatic or whatever, it is going to be getting worse in general. All these things are going to be happening, are already happening, and will continue to happen for a long period of time. We're not yet going to be seeing another cycle where things are getting better. Right now, we're still going to be in the time of, as years go by, all of this is just going to be getting worse, not better by any means. So you have to be ready for that. You have to be aware. Awareness alone helps a lot towards being safer, right? You can avoid lots of problems, lots of possible and potential crime incidents just by being more aware. Of course, if you have no defensive skills and you're one day forced to defend yourself, odds are not in your favor, of course. So who dies after an economic collapse? Indeed, yes. Unfortunately, as things get worse, this ends up claiming lives. It does claim lives because people just don't, most normal people aren't that much into self-defense. Few of them carry a weapon, even less have adequate skills so as to use it properly. It is very rare. I was talking yesterday with a friend of mine from Argentina. Very like-minded folks, you know, very like-minded type of guy. Firearm, weapons of different kind, all that training, all this stuff. We are a minority, right? It was just a handful of us guys in Argentina that did all this stuff. The rest just hopes for the better, and that's it. Tries not to think too much about all this stuff, right? Don't think that everyone in Argentina is into self-defense and all that stuff and firearms and defensive training. It is not that way. It is really a minority. But it's up to you to decide if you want to be someone that is capable of doing this or not. To get the training, and adopt it as a lifestyle. You know, carrying a firearm every single day with you, it's a bit of a lifestyle as well. It's a decision that you make towards the rest of your life. So also a big point that you should never forget, talking about personal financial information, talking about, you know, I sold my car, I sold my house, that's the kind of thing that has been getting people killed. it just kills people. Opening their mouths in the wrong place at the wrong time, it just claims the lives of people, right? As crime gets worse, all these things, all this information just falling into the wrong ears may get you killed, may get you shot, kidnapped, robbed in your house. It's one of those things that people don't think much of. They just open their mouth, they just share something with someone that they consider a friend. You just never know who's over here, and you just never know who's going to be opening their mouth. Maybe you trust a good friend. You told him, yes, I sold my house. And that guy, without any mean intentions, comments to someone else. And that's just enough to get you into trouble. So learn to keep your mouth shut. You know, loose lips sink ships, while loose lips kill people as well. What is it that you can do in many ways so as to help improve your situation regarding some of these stuff? Just a very quick 3 points here. Learn to relax, appreciate what you have, pick a hobby, work out, stretch often. You know, just basic common sense stuff. But it's so common sense that so many people just don't think about it, I suppose. You have to learn to appreciate what you have. If you have been unemployed, if you are employed but your money is not making at the end of the month still, and you're being anguished by that, realize that it's going to be affecting your health. So learn to relax, learn to appreciate what you have. For many of us, for a long time, it was, you know, our families, our wives, our kids. That was what we learned to appreciate, in spite of being in a very bad financial situation, in spite of being worried every time we went to the streets, because as the saying went, you just know you're going out, you just didn't know if you were going back home in Argentina. Still the way it is for lots of people today. It is every single day people getting hurt, getting killed on the streets. So if that kind of thing combined with the financial problems creates quite a tense atmosphere at home, you have to learn to relax, you have to learn to appreciate what you have, your kids, that sort of stuff. Pick a hobby, do something like that, work out. Just going to the gym 2-3 times a week, if you can do that. Or you can learn combine these, you know, quality time with the family, going out for a trekking trip on the weekends, stretching your legs and being outdoors helps you relax on a mental level, works out a bit of your physical as well, and it's quality time with the family. So you have 3 ducks in a row there with just one shot. Protect your budget, save money, and learn how to make more, right? Being careful of your budget. Anything, guys, that you sign and it's going to be anything that you sign, any contract that you sign, it's going to be enslaving you on monthly payments. You know, avoid those things like a plague, right? Even if it's not that much money, just try to avoid that as much as possible. In some cases, you just cannot do anything about it. You have your mortgage and you have to pay it, but you know, why buy a new car when you can buy a used one? So many people just say, yeah, it's just $500 a month or $300 a month. I'll buy a new car and pay it in 20 years or whatever. You know, you're being enslaved. It's a small little handcuff that's being placed on you, but you're being enslaved. That contract is tying you financially to some degree. The more of those you have, it's like weight being added, and you're floating and trying to make it to the end of the month every month. It's try to avoid that as much as possible. Save as much money as you can. Work towards saving money. Learn to make more money. Learn to be more valuable to your company if you're working for someone else, so that you're the last guy that gets fired. At the same time, look of ways of making your own income in any way, any possible way. Any hobby you like that you may be making a few bucks off, giving a few classes, selling stuff over the internet, whatever it is start a freaking website, guys. It is so simple these days. If there's something that you really like, and the more odd and awkward the subject is or the hobby is, usually that's the better, right? Don't think that whatever it is that you're into, no one else cares about. Generally, the quirkier and weirder it is, there's more people interested in that sort of stuff. And with the internet today, you have access to the entire planet just at the tip of your fingers. So take advantage of that. Know how to defend yourself and your family. Improve your personal and home security. Have adequate awareness at all times, both on foot and when driving. And I might add as well, in your house, right? Improving your personal security, that's about being able to have adequate levels of awareness, knowing a bit of self-defense, carrying a weapon where and legal to do so. Your house, reinforcing your house, there's no need for it to be a bunker. The only thing that it has to be is at the very least better than the rest of the houses. In general, you have a fair-sized dog, you have an alarm system, you have good locks. Generally, that's enough in a peaceful community. If it's a bit of a rougher place, then you will have to consider burglar bars. Burglar bars are a reality in Argentina. Every single freaking house has those. There's no house in Argentina these days that hasn't got burglar bars. You just drive around and you see them everywhere. The one that doesn't have burglar bars is the one that's going to be getting hit soon enough. And remember, you have to combine this with the people inside being of the same mindset as you are. There's no use in having the bunker with the burglar bars and all this stuff and whatever, and leaving the door open 10 to 15 minutes or half an hour when you go in and out. The kids stay talking with the neighbors or whatever, not being aware of their surroundings in any degree. The more dangerous a place is, the less you can afford to make those things. Right? I live in a nice, safe community right now. None of this is really a concern. There's, the kids play on the street and all that, and it's perfectly safe. Back in Argentina, I just understood that I just couldn't do that. Back in Argentina, you just didn't stay talking with your next door neighbor 15, 20 minutes on the door. Just outside, just waiting for someone to drive by, see the opportunity, put a gun to your face and force you inside. There's a video that I uploaded recently in my website, themodernsurvivalist.com, of a pregnant woman that gets shot when entering the vehicle. It's just a matter of seconds, guys. There's this couple entering their vehicle to the garage. The husband is driving in. The pregnant lady is outside taking a look, looking around. And in just a matter of seconds, someone was driving by, saw the opportunity. A guy comes out with a gun, and well, the husband struggles with the guy, and the guy just takes a shot to a pregnant woman. That's the kind of thing that happens in Argentina on a regular basis. So regular that I actually made a confusion and thought that some other woman that had been shot, another pregnant woman that had been shot the day before. That lady lost her baby. I thought it was this woman, but it was two separate incidents. One before the other, just by 1 day of difference in Buenos Aires. Two pregnant women being shot in the belly, just in a matter of 24 hours. That's kind of crime that I'm talking about. That would be an extreme crime situation. Most people don't have to live with that. But that's not saying that any of this. You will still see more crime as time goes by, guys. You will see more of this crazy stuff happening, and you are not used to it. I know it for a fact because I see people how they are in safer countries. They are just not used to it. They're not ready for this sort of stuff, and it's gonna be catching lots of you guys unprepared for it. So it's better if you start making some of those plans, some of those, changing a bit of that mentality a bit right now, and not waiting until it's too late. Guys, remember to relax, remember to have a good time, have a bit of awareness and know how to defend yourself, learn to appreciate what you have. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I kept it as short as possible so as to not be too long. Take care, folks. Remember subscribing, and see you in our next video. Have a good day.